Hey, Kids Ministry World. Been thinking about what topic to talk about next, and the topic that I thought about was one that I think all of us hate to do, but we have to do when the time occurs, and that's discipline. How do you discipline a child? How do you discipline a child and have it be a win-win for all? That's a difficult thing to do because I think so many times we come across and we don't have time for discipline. We don't want to have to deal with discipline, but discipline is something that we all have to do, and because discipline comes from the word disciple, and our job is to create disciples. So discipline is a thing that comes when we have to do it. Now, one of the great lessons I learned from the first pastor I was under, Bob Bear, was there's a difference between discipline and punishment. And discipline is something you do for somebody that they didn't know what they did was wrong, and you're having to educate them. You're discipling them. And then punishment comes when the person does something that is wrong. They know it's wrong, and they purposely, willfully disobeyed. And then that's where punishment comes in. So there's a big difference between discipline and punishment. Well, let's just take a common everyday occurrence that happens in a classroom. And this is actually the process I do whenever I'm talking with a kid is something I kind of developed just on the fly. I was involved in an Awana scholarship camp, and I was a counselor there for a long time, and then they asked me to become the sergeant of arms, and they said it was because I have a way of disciplining kids and it being a win-win for everybody. So I was kind of the disciplinarian while I was at camp, and so I would handle the discipline issues that the counselors couldn't take care of, or that it moves out of their comfort zone, their zone where they still need to be the friend, the confidant to the camper. Like our teachers in our classrooms, they should be able to handle discipline issues up to a level, and then that level then needs to move to the Sunday school director or up the chain of command. And so whenever I get called into one, I like to pull the child aside. I like to get down to their level. So that means me sitting on the ground, getting on my knees. I want to be eye to eye with the kid. I don't want to be towering over with that huge authority figure of the tower over thing. I want to get eye to eye. I talk to the kid like they're a person, and so talk to the child, don't talk at the child. And the key thing in this is to listen. To listen. I want a child to know what they were doing. I want them to understand the effect of what they were doing. And then I want them to understand that if they keep continuing down that road, what the outcome's going to be. So what is the outcome? So if I have a child that is totally disobeying the teacher says, okay, everybody, let's sit down in a circle. It's lesson time. It's story time. And that child is totally disrespectful and will not sit down. And the teacher's done everything they could to try to encourage the child, whatever. Then they come out to me, and so I'm going to get eye to eye, and I'm just going to ask them, what's going on? Are you having a bad day? Talk to them, not at them. Shows them respect, and then they're going to show respect back to you. So I'll ask them, what's going on? Why don't you want to sit down? And then I'll jump into Romans chapter 13 if I have to, going, well, that teacher is an authority above you, like your parents, like anything. And we have to obey the authorities above us. I'll say I have authorities above me, and I always don't like to obey them, but I have to obey them. It's God's law. So when you're in there and you're disobeying your teacher, you're just not disobeying your teacher, but you're disobeying God, because God set this rules up of that you as a child need to obey. All of us need to obey the authorities above us. When you disobey the teacher, you're disobeying God. So you have a choice to make. I love to give them choices to make. because I believe at, pre-K up, maybe even younger, some kids can understand that the choice that they can make. So they can choose to behave right, because I'll also through that talk ask them, what would the appropriate behavior be? What would the right thing be? If you were to obey your teacher, what should you be doing? So I asked them what they were doing. Did they understand that was right and wrong? And when they're disobeying the teacher, they're disobeying God. I asked them, what is the appropriate behavior? I want them to all be able to tell this back to me. Don't give them yes or no answers. Have them tell you what the appropriate behavior is. And then go, well, I guess you got a choice to make right now. And the choice is, you can go in there and obey the teacher, which will please and honor God. Or you can keep being disruptive, and you're going to have to, I'm going to go get your parent. So they can choose to go in and behave, and everything will be happy, everything will be good, or I can go get their parent. And then I usually ask them, what would the punishment be if your parent knows this? So if your parent, if I go get your dad, what's going to happen? Most of the time it's not good. They're going to go, I'm going to get spanked, I'm going to get grounded. And I'm like, oh, is that what you want to do? Do you want to, because you can't go sit for 10 minutes for a Bible lesson? Do you want to get spanked or grounded for that? And I always put it back, it's your choice. It's your choice. I've had some go, I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm not doing it to you. It's your choice. You're the one deciding what's going to happen here. Your decision decides your outcome. And most of the time, I've had them go, I want to go back in and I will behave. I will behave. And then I pray with them. At that point in time, I go, well, let me pray with you. And I'm going to pray God's going to give you the power, the willingness, and the ability, the self-control to be able to do what you know is right to honor and glorify Him. And then we have a time of prayer, and that's what we pray. And I smile. When I finish, I'm smiling with them. I'm giving them a high five, him or her. And I take him back in the class, and I look at the teacher right there in front of him and everybody else. I go, let me know how he does. Come and get me if you need to get me again. And usually it ends in a good way. So discipline is not fun. It's not enjoyable to do, but the goal is to try to make it a win-win for both people, the child and the teacher, for you, and leave on a happy note. You don't want that kid to be looking at you in the hallway thinking you're the evil person, you're the hammer, the axe man. No, it's a time to disciple them and help them to understand choices in their life. Don't be a dictator in a kid's life. I mean, there's times where you need to be. But I like to allow kids to make a choice and help them to understand the consequences of their choice, both good and bad. And then I help them to live through their choice. And so, but again, I do think there's a choice. There's a time where you need to be a dictator in a kid's life. They don't get a choice. They will behave or will do what you want to. So we got a great seminar coming up. I'm going to do a little blurb for that, and at a different time here. But thanks for watching. And if you have any other questions, you can contact me at dave@westefc.org, or you can go to my blog at daveruckel, RUCKEL.com, daveruckel.com. And remember, the buck stops here.